What's up, people? All right, look, so today we're going to break down the Big U complaint. All right, this was filed actually 2 days ago. All right, it's United States of America. All right, meaning that it's a federal case. The case number is 2:25 MJ 01494 DUTY. All right, so this is actually a RICO case. All right, and there are actually multiple allegations charged against the organization. All right, number one is interference with commerce by robbery. Second is transportation of an individual in interstate commerce with the intent to engage in prostitution. And thirdly, bank fraud. All right. Now, look, it's not really the end of the road for everybody involved. All right. I think the number one person that's going to be the most concerned, the most worried would be Big U, since he's the head of the serpent. All right. Now, the thing with these RICO cases, whenever you get the documents, you actually want to look at the back of the document at the end. All right, because it's going to give you all of the probable cause. It's going to give you a list of the qualifications of the investigating what's called like a lead agent. All right, and then it's going to give a conclusion. All right, so as you see here, the special agent, Andrew James Russe, all right, he's going to be the lead agent. All right, now he's going to work in coordination with what's known as a U.S. magistrate judge, all right, and then also the U.S. of A., all right, which is also the United States Attorney's Office, all right. So let's go to the end here, and let's just see what I was talking about, all right, some of these qualifications. And, the good thing is that if he hires a competent lawyer, all right, somebody that's well-versed in law, somebody that's had a number of winning cases under the belt, all right, that's the problem. A lot of you guys hire lawyers that have no winning cases, all right? Most of these lawyers just want you to agree to something, all right? They're going to say, hey, take this deal that the prosecutor is giving you. Why would you take a deal when you could get the case dismissed? All right, but you got to pay a lot of money for that. And sometimes, the ironic part is that rappers, these moguls, entertainers, all right, people who commit crimes in this space, they're just easy targets for everybody. All right, you looked at Tekashi 6ix9ine, you look at Lil Durk, you look at Big U here, you look at all these other individuals. It's such an easy target because 9 out of 10 times these guys are committing crimes. All right, and they're committing crimes, and they're not, we're not talking about El Chapo here. You saw how long it took to get El Chapo. All right, these guys aren't El Chapo. They're not switching out phones. They're not using fake addresses. All right, they're not switching plates. By the way, this is for educational purposes only. Okay, so anything I say in this video, I am not trying to instruct anybody how to circumvent the law. All right, we're just giving you some information that I believe would be useful to anybody who may or may not be in any type of situation similar to this. Okay, now let's look here. We see that I'm just going back a little bit. Let's see, where's the good part? Okay. Sorry, there's a lot of information in here. Okay. All right, so identification of the property and premises to be searched and probable cause that evidence of the various subject offenses will be found in that property and at these premises. All right, so basically the special agent is saying, well, I reviewed on March 13th, all right, just 6 days ago, all right, Henley's 62nd Street residence, and they're going to list their other residences. Looks like one in Arlington. Okay, maybe at a home in Texas. And then they're also listing the Mercedes. So it looks like obviously they're getting warrants to search the Mercedes and things of that nature. And then they also list the business developing options, which they're saying their premises is the organization's registered address. All right, which is another dumb move. Okay, guys, if you're doing illegal business, would it be smart to do the business under your name? Probably not. Okay, look, even these scammers who do these stock investment fraud, You know what they do? They go to Delaware, they open up an LLC in Delaware, or they open up a business in the Cayman Islands. All right, they register pink sheet stocks, and then they run these lucrative financial scams. And at the end of the day, they don't have enough evidence to prosecute them, or the evidence they do have is only enough to prosecute them up to a certain level. And then they get a slap on the wrist, and then they're out of jail in 5 years, and then they go dig the money that they hid somewhere, whether it's in secret accounts, crypto, etc. And they're having a good time. It's like nothing happened. Okay, so unfortunately, Big U doesn't seem to be that smart. All right, now it goes on and on. They're describing some of the residences, some interactions with the wife. Discussions. Now, here's the problem. All right. So we got victim one. All right. It says here, victim one was also called to Henley's Arlington premises to collect items that the Big U enterprise robbed from the marijuana dispensary discussed above. At times, Henley has previously rented his Arlington premises to tenants, and directed others to collect rent. Blah blah blah. All right. Victim one is obviously someone who ran to the police and said, hey, this guy's trying to coerce me to do things I don't want to do, allegedly. All right. He's trying to extort me. He's trying to take money from me. Look, guys, if you go on Instagram right now, don't do this, but if you go on Instagram right now and you go on Kim Kardashian's page and say, yo, Kim, I'm going to walk you down. You got to understand, within the moment they see that message, within 5 minutes, they're going to call the FBI. In fact, Kim Kardashian probably has an FBI agent assigned to just her, right? So a lot of these rich people that have a lot of money, they're not messing around. They're going straight to the FBI. They're not calling the police. They got a number they can call, and then they're going to track you down through your IP address. I'm a tech guy, so you guys may not be very tech savvy, but you got to understand something. Anytime you connect to the internet, all right, you're connected through your router, you're connected through your home, especially in your home, all right? Your ISP knows your IP address, and your IP address comes back to your account, it comes back to your home. So anytime you do criminal activity and you're using your device, guess what? The police are going to be able to find you, all right? Now, people circumvent that by using a VPN, which is called a virtual private network. All right, some people use the Onion network through Tor. There are various ways to get around it, but your average criminal is not smart enough to know to do that. Okay, they're just going to connect. Even if you connect through your cell phone, guess what? All right, when your cell phone connects to send text messages and things of that nature, all right, it has to do it through some route. Obviously, if you're not connected to Wi-Fi, it's doing it via the cell tower, right? So your phone pings the cell tower. The cell tower says, hey, I'm here, all right, sends a message back to your phone, and that's how your phone knows, hey, I have maybe 2 bars of connection. Oh, okay, I have 4 bars of connection, all right? There's a thing called a stingray. All right, a stingray is a device which pretends to be a cell tower in the anticipation that your device is going to connect to the stingray. All right, so let's say, for example, you usually only get 2 bars of connection at your home, right? All of a sudden, you see 4 bars of connection. You're thinking, wow, this is great, man. My internet service must be fantastic, all right? You're sending the evidence to your friend. You're texting this and that back and forth. You're giving up all the evidence, all right? You should be suspicious. You shouldn't say, oh, wow, this is a great connection. No, you might be under investigation, especially if you've been committing crimes. All right, so, what's really going to get these guys hemmed up is their digital devices. Another thing is the iCloud on the iPhone. All you iPhone people that think you're so cool with the iPhone. iPhone's probably the worst device possible if you're committing crimes, all right? Because number one, I know you guys think your device is secured, all right? But as we will read, all right, there are ways to circumvent that security. To circumvent that encryption, rather, right? Encryption is a way of taking data on a device and transforming it into data that isn't able to be readily read in human form, all right, without what's called an encryption key. Okay, so now here's the problem. When you have iCloud and you sync your data to iCloud, that gets stored on a server, on one of Apple's servers. So at that point, guess who has the encryption key? You do not. Apple has the encryption key. So all the government needs is a warrant to go into your iCloud account, and based upon what evidence they have, Apple will have to comply. So even if you turn your phone off and you hide it in the woods, all right, your iPhone, even when the phone is turned off, go look it up. It's still pinging Apple. It's still pinging the cell towers and still transmitting the location of the device. All right, so yeah, iOS, iPhone, worst device possible you could have if you're committing crimes. All right, now I say that because you're gonna, if you read the document, you're gonna see that there's a lot of places where these guys tripped up. All right, they made a lot of silly mistakes, and usually it's those small silly mistakes that can get you in trouble. All right. Now, furthermore, if you look at 172, all right, it says throughout the investigation and during the Title III wiretap interceptions, Robinson slept at Robinson's premises nearly every night and otherwise came and went from Robinson's premises, etc. Okay, how would they know that? How would they know where you're sleeping? Well, once again, like I said, it's your phone's connection to the cell towers. All right, so even without a stingray, they can still get that information from the cell towers. Now, what's interesting here is that they have a Title III wiretap interception. All right, there's different levels of wiretaps. All right, Title I is typically for international crime. All right, so let's say you're a North Korean citizen. All right, and you're a spy, and you're here in America, and the government has reason to believe that you're a spy. They can do a Title I wiretap to see if you're contacting North Korea. Okay, now this is not the case. We're talking about domestic here. All right, we're not talking about like the CIA and stuff like that. So, okay, now Title II wiretap, that's typically what's called a peripheral wiretap. All right, or a metadata wiretap, okay, because it doesn't actually record the conversation. All it does is record what time the call was made, who the call was made to, all right, et cetera. All right, a Title III wiretap is the most intrusive wiretap because not only they record who you're speaking to, what time you spoke to them, all right, it also records the full conversation. So if you have a Title III wiretap, you've already committed a crime, because that's the only way you can be issued a Title III wiretap, all right, is through a magistrate judge, and you have to present evidence that a crime has been committed. All right, so and you're going to see the problem is there's a lot of cooperants, there's a lot of confidential informants. They interviewed a lot of people. They've been doing this for a long time, and all this stuff just adds up and piles on. And it really creates a problem for Big U. All right. Now, the other guys, like I said, they're probably going to cop a plea. Look, guys, I know you believe, your man's is going to look out for you. That's your big homie. All right. He's got your back. Oh, man, this is Twin. We're locked in. We're tapped in. Look, as soon as Twin gets in that goddamn room and the investigators say, look, man, you're looking at about 20 years for just this one charge. All right. And you're looking about maybe 15 years for this other charge. All right. Now, the judge can run it concurrently, meaning that you can serve, like, let's say you get a 20-year sentence, another 20-year sentence. You don't have to do the 20 years after the other 20 years, over 40 years total. You just do a solid 20 years. All right. Now, the way it works with federal time is basically you multiply the time by 0.85, and that's your good time. So let's say, all right, you're 45 years old, right? And these guys are honestly in their 50s, all right? But let's say you're 45, and you get a 20-year sentence, right? By the time you get out, you're probably going to be around 62, right? Because you're going to get 17 years. So if an investigator, all right, says, hey, listen, you got to waive your Miranda rights. You want to come to the office, you want to talk, all right, and he's telling you, look, I can't tell you what to say, but if you want to waive your rights, you want to come talk with me. Give you a bucket of Popeye's chicken. All right, and you tell the investigator, yeah, dog, that's what I'm talking about. I want a 20-piece from Popeyes. Let me get the fries. Let me get the sweet heat sauce. And matter of fact, you know what? Can y'all just run up to McDonald's, get me a vanilla milkshake, get me a large one with the whipped cream and the cherry. That's what I want. All right, investigator's gonna bring that into the office. Say, hey, I bet. Boom. What do you gotta tell us, dog? And you're gonna be chirping your whole story away. Okay, so that's the problem. When you commit a crime, boy, you better commit that crime by yourself, because if you commit it with anybody else, you better believe it's a race to see who's gonna snitch first. All right, and don't let them have camera footage. All right, don't let them have cell tower information. You're done. So we know he's been wiretapped. All right, and the FBI is involved. All right, so obviously that typically occurs with interstate crime. All right, with a sex trafficking, prostitution, etc. All right, so it goes on and just describes more of the crimes that they've got and the probable cause that they have. All right, it says here embezzling money, and you also read further about embezzling, misappropriation of funds, all right, mixing the money with the business, with personal use. All right, now, to be honest with you, these are kind of like petty crimes, right? This is not something that would rise to the occasion of federal crimes. Well, federal crimes in the sense of a RICO, right? Because remember, the purpose of the RICO, like let's say you commit a crime and you committed it 2 years ago. All right, there's the thing called statute of limitations. So if 2 years has passed for this particular crime, guess what? You can't be prosecuted for it anymore, okay? Now with the RICO eliminates that, because it says, well, this organization has been committing crime since 40 years ago, and every crime that individuals that are part of that organization have committed are going to be allowed to be admissible in court, all right? Now, that's going to be the key with this case, is what's admissible and what's not admissible, okay? Now, the lead agent goes on to describe his training and things of that nature, all right? And with these RICO cases, they usually have a task force, right? A task force will consist of local police, federal police, et cetera, working together to figure out this crime. Now, that can be good, but that can also be bad, because when you're working with multiple individuals, multiple organizations, people slip up, people make mistakes, and those mistakes, when you have a good lawyer, is going to find those mistakes and use that to poke holes in your case. All right, I'm going to give you an example. All right, he goes on. Let's see here. Like I said, once again, I'm more of a tech guy, so those are the things that stand out to me more. All right, now here on page 101. All right, the special agent says, digital devices capable of storing multiple gigabytes are now commonplace. As an example of the amount of data this equates to, 1 gigabyte can store close to 19,000 average file size 300 kilobyte Word documents. All right, let's stop there. If anyone listening is a tech person, what about that statement doesn't make sense? That's correct. If you take 1 gigabyte and you divide it by 300 kilobytes, right? Even if you're not a computer guy, what's 1 divided by 3? It's 1/3, right? So actually, there should be about 3,333 files, not 19,000 files. All right, that's about 6 times of a difference. So I'll give you an example. If the officer says, oh yeah, the suspect was 6 feet tall, And actually, the suspect, actually, no, the reverse. If the suspect is 6 feet tall, that's like the officer saying the suspect was 36 feet tall, right? A lawyer is going to come in and say, Your Honor, I don't know anybody that's 36 feet tall, okay? Because that's typically how you beat these cases, all right? You either discredit the credibility of the prosecution. All right, let's say they themselves are committing some type of criminal activity, or they lied about something. All right, that's going to be able. You're going to be able to beat the case based on the credibility of the witness, or the prosecution. Okay, the other thing you can beat the case on is the competency of the prosecution. All right. So if I'm a good lawyer, I'm going to point this simple fact out. And first of all, the fact that this is even here, as a lawyer, I would be having a field day. I would go over every single page, write down every single fact, and start taking notes. All right, because I'm going to say to the judge, Your Honor, this individual can't do simple math. He's presenting information here. He's saying that 19,000 files, 300 kilobytes each, equates to 1 gigabyte. When it actually equates to about 5.7 gigabytes, almost a 6x factor. So if this individual is incompetent enough to just write simple facts down, how do I know they're competent enough to serve reliable evidence against this case? All right, because that's the problem. In the court of law, all right, the judge is going to believe whatever the officer says. So if you could have been wearing red shoes that day, all right? If there's no other witnesses, there's no cameras, right? And the officer says, he was wearing blue shoes. Guess what color shoes you were wearing? You were wearing blue shoes, okay? That's because the officer's word is going to supersede your word in federal court every time. So that's why it's important to have evidence. That's why it's important to have cameras. If you believe that, you're not committing crimes, well, record your home. Make sure you have cameras at your home all the time. Whenever you have guests over and you're discussing stuff, make sure you do it in front of a camera. Heck, if they have to sign a form to say, I'm giving away my rights, and I'm letting you know that I'm allowing you to record me, then you may have to do that, okay? That's what the professional criminals are doing, okay? I hate to tell you that, but that's what they're doing, okay? You watch the documentaries and, you can read on Whitey Bulger and all these other guys, all right? So, they go on to describe further invocations of their probable cause and things of that nature. And it gets kind of tricky. But so in conclusion, all right, they say for all the reasons described above, there's probable cause to believe the following. Henley, Robinson, and Martin violated 18 U.S.C. 1962D, racketeer, influenced and corrupt organization, conspiracy. Williams violated 18 U.S.C. 1951, interference with commerce by robbery. FEDS violated 18 U.S.C. 2421, transportation of an individual in interstate commerce with intent that the individual engage in prostitution. And Blanton and Hines violated 18 U.S.C. 1344-1, bank fraud. Further, there is probable cause to believe that the items listed in attachment B1, which constitute evidence, fruits, and instrumentalities of violations of Henley's subject offenses, will be found at or in, or on Henley. Okay, so property they've seized on him in the Mercedes at the premises as described in attachments A1 through A4. So guys, this is a really, really tricky case. All right, now here's the funny thing. All right, now let's just get into the spicy stuff, because you guys are so obsessed with this WAC 100. It's unbelievable. I know there's going to be someone that says, "Oh no, WAC 100 did it. WAC 100 snitched on him." All right, so let's just look through the paperwork, because if that was the case, it would be in the paperwork. Okay, you guys just hate WAC so much you want to believe that he's this big snitch. All right, so let's search for whack here. All right, and if we look here, we see that page 83 through 85, we got a lot of hits for whack. All right, and as a predecessor to that, they're saying basically they intercepted phone calls during the investigation in which Henley bragged about violence that I believe showed the Big U Enterprises' continued intention to intimidate and control members of the community through fear and violence. These include boasts to a victim, but also general recounting of violence, threats, or violent acts that are in the line with the Big U Enterprises' modus operandi. All right, and you see here it says, in talking to a former NFL Pro Bowler, Henley stated that he was going to beat the out of witness 2 for starting between Henley and Whack 100. All right. Henley again stated he needed to break Whack 100's jaw. Jesus Christ. All right, so first of all, what do you notice here? This is about Big U saying the crimes he's going to commit against Whack 100. All right, this is not saying Whack 100 gave somebody a statement or Whack 100 said this said this specific content. All right, it's just stating stuff that Big U wants to do against Whack, or that things that Big U said about Whack. All right, and it goes on to say Henley again described needing to beat the out of Whack 100. All right, so yeah, if anything, these are crimes against Whack 100. Okay, it also goes on to say throughout the Big U Enterprises. Sorry, I got a cough. Extortion of victim 1. Members of the Big U Enterprise discussed violence and illegal activities to victim 1 in order to intimidate victim 1 and ensure that victim 1 kept paying extortion fees to the Big U Enterprise. Examples include Henley recounted to victim 1 an incident in which Henley and Roland 60's gang members chased down Whack 100. But once again, this is not a statement by Whack. This is a statement by either Big U or one of, a recounting of something that Big U stated, okay? And they chased down Whack 100, attempting to hurt him. There's 15 to 20 with us with hoodies tied down. I got my hoodie all black, tied down. She boom. She jumped in the car, paid for, and then took off. Boom. This screaming. My wife, Draws. Draws is Big U's name. Draws. I see you, Eugene. I see you. Eugene Henley, I see you. He's screaming all that. He's got his blower. All right, if you don't know what a blower is, that's a gun. It's a euphemism for a gun. All right, he's got his blower out, but he's effed up because nobody's around. We I'm like, yeah, you BAN. He you gonna die here, man. Don't do this. My wife, my kids in that car. Draws. Don't do this. He's screaming. Come on, guys. This is almost comical. All right, that you would even believe. All right, this is a story that Whack gave. All right, Whack's name is nowhere in this. All right, so for all of this is Whack 100. Guys, get that story out of here. This ain't got nothing to do with Whack. All right. Now, next thing we want to look at is Mitchell. All right, so Mitchell is the one that has the funny speech, Bricc Baby. All right, so Zaire Mitchell. All right, now, funny enough, on page 11, it says here, Mitchell is the subject of a separate sealed indictment pending in case number 2:25-CR-00132. All right, now, just hold on to that for a second. All right, and we want to look at the other page. Basically, it's basically one page, page 55, as you see here. All right, where Mitchell is listed, and basically says this: on November 11th of 2022, mind you, this is 2022. Okay, this is 2-3 years ago. On another intercepted call, Mitchell discussed above, and Henley coordinated how Mitchell would give Henley the proceeds from a robbery that Mitchell committed. Henley and Mitchell were talking about how much money should go to Henley. Then in multiple other intercepted calls and text messages, Henley talked with Blanton and Robinson to help Henley collect from Mitchell's associate. Talking about Mitchell, Blanton said they robbed a N-word for some They made a N-word call his plug, and then they booked him. Talking about further splitting the proceeds, Henley told Blanton, I'm going to grab half of that, whatever he got them, I'm going to give it to Vay. And remember, Vay is Sylvester Robinson, okay? And Vay can bring the rest of to you, I guess, right? So they even say here at the bottom, Bricc Baby is one of Mitchell's monikers. All right, so, so think about that for a second. Why would someone be listed in a RICO for crimes they committed in 2022, which apparently investigators are already aware of, all right, and he's got a sealed indictment. Look, I don't want to accuse anybody of being a rat, but I don't know. This sounds like somebody was telling. Okay, so, that's just my opinion, all right? I don't know that to be fact, all right? But it sounds like somebody was doing some telling, because it seems really bizarre that they just took this guy down yesterday. The other bizarre thing is the other individual, Luce Cannon, Tremaine Williams, happened to be in Los Angeles. And when they arrested these guys, I'd like to know, there's some footage from his wife recording him being arrested. But it'd be interesting to find out how they knew his location. I guess they knew he was there because they probably watched the podcast with him on No Jumper. But there's a lot of really interesting questions about the interaction between Williams, a.k.a. Luce Cannon, and Mitchell, a.k.a. Bricc Baby. So, ponder on that. In fact, let's just search here. We're going to look for Williams, all right? So, there's several pages about Williams too. But basically, the meat and potatoes of Williams is between pages 50 and 54 approximately, okay? Let's see here. So Henley directs a robbery of and conspires to rob, and Robinson and Williams personally rob a marijuana dispensary at gunpoint. All right, so in 2021, July 5th, the day after Independence Day, right after July 4th, they had some good barbecue. They said, man, let's run down to the marijuana dispensary. I know they got a whole lot of cash. And by the way, which is another reason why it's dangerous to have a marijuana dispensary, because, marijuana in the eye of the federal government is considered a Schedule I drug. All right, meaning that it has no medicinal use and that, it's an addictive drug. It's arguable, right? And that's why even though a state can say, oh, it's legal to have marijuana, if the feds really want to come after you, they can just say, oh, well, federally, marijuana is still legal. They can do that in any state. It doesn't matter, okay? And that's why, in fact, banks, all right, do not work with dispensaries. All right, a lot of people don't know, but the reason why dispensaries are the number one target for robberies is because they operate completely in cash, because they cannot put their cash into the bank. The bank will not accept it legally if the business deals with marijuana, because once again, marijuana is not legal on a federal level. All right, so these guys literally have millions of dollars. They're storing in here, they're storing there, and it's very, very dangerous. All right, so obviously Luce Cannon, being the entrepreneur that he is, said, wow, this is a great opportunity to make some money, okay? Now, apparently their robbery was successful, but, in obtaining some money, but unfortunately they got caught, okay? Now, it goes on to say here at 99, Williams later admitted to this robbery and aftermath on a podcast, on the No Jumper podcast, after stating that Williams was Henley's right-hand man. Williams explained, so basically, he'll manipulate things. We'll go and do something. First of all, this is so idiotic. Look, guys, is there really any other reason besides clout that you would say something like this? First of all, that the police are watching No Jumper, right? You'd have to be an idiot to believe that police do not watch No Jumper. They just, close their eyes whenever No Jumper's on. No. The feds are watching No Jumper. The sheriff's office is watching No Jumper. The local LAPD is watching No Jumper. Those police officers are watching it because you're streaming it to the internet. They don't even got to go down there and wiretap and bug up the place. All they got to do is log on YouTube and you're live streaming to them, okay? So for Luce Cannon to say these things, let's just say he was joking. Let's say it was completely fabricated. All right? Well, guess what? You wouldn't be part of this RICO because the police wouldn't have evidence to substantiate that you committed those crimes. But because you've repeated crimes that maybe the audience doesn't know, guess what? The police still know about that. And because of that, they're going to verify what you're saying and they're going to use it against you. All right. This is why, a good lawyer is going to tell you when the police show up and say, hey, look, we'd like to bring you in for questioning. All right. You tell them no. I have a Fifth Amendment right. All right. To not self-incriminate. I want to speak to my lawyer. All right. You never go in that room and talk to the police. Are you nuts? All right. And then let alone go online and then just give police probable cause. It's just so stupid. All right. Because then they can set up wiretaps. They can do all sorts of stuff. And you're feeding them the information every week. All right. The police aren't going to write a comment in the comment section. Hey, thanks, bro. No, they're going to just wait until they get enough evidence on you. And then they're going to file shit like this. Okay. Excuse my language. All right. And, Luce goes on to talk about his crimes. All right. And look, it says right here, 18 at the bottom. As stated below, victim's one account is corroborated in a consensually recorded conversation with Henley and Robinson. Asked for robbery targets from victim one. All right. It goes on further to say, you know why we want to give the dude back the 40, right? Because he was going to make the dude give him 20 for getting it back. Williams then agreed, of course. He did that to two famous rappers. Williams then detailed demanding 50 grand from the celebrity rapper RR, which I'm going to assume is Rick Ross, or they would kill the celebrity rapper MM, which I'm going to assume is Meek Mill. All right, now I don't know, but look, I want to say, I don't want to receive any cease and desist. So I do not know for certain that RR is Rick Ross. I don't know for certain that MM is Meek Mill. All right, but those are just assumptions I'm making. I don't know if that's the case or not. Okay. Then says Williams then said RR dropped off the 50 grand and Henley stopped answering the phone and then did not share any of the proceeds with Williams. All right. So, yeah. So, yeah. Sorry, guys. I have a cough. So, yeah. I mean, overall, this is all bad. This is all stupid. And it's all over little stuff, right? This, once again, is why you cannot commit crimes with other people, all right? Because people will get jealous. Oh, man, bro, we got $50,000, man. I need my $25,000, bro. Oh, what do you mean I'm only getting 15? Yo, bro, I think I deserve half of that, man. Do you know what I had to go through, man? Me and my baby mama, we going through some shit. Man, I got kids. I got child support, bro. I got some shit I'm dealing with. My car engine ain't working right. I got the check engine light going on, bro. Yo, I need my 25. All right. And that simple argument turned into this dude snitching on you. So, guys, please, I'm begging you, don't commit crimes. Just follow the fucking law, man. It's really simple, bro. Because you're either going to get snitched on, you're going to get caught, right? And then you're going to get a whole bunch of fucking time. You're going to have to pay for lawyers. You're going to have to pay for this. You're going to get embarrassed. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your bread. They're going to take your money. They're going to, it's so much bullshit that you're going to have to deal with. That's not even worth committing the crime. You might as well just go start one of these blue collar stock investment frauds. And I'm not telling you to go do that. But the point is that those guys, they get a slap on the wrist and they walk away. All right. So, yeah, these guys definitely are cooked. Now, the last thing we're going to search for is No Jumper. All right. We're searching for No Jumper because I know there's going to be somebody in the comments. Oh, Adam22 did it. Yo, it's Adam. Adam's locking everybody up. Bro, can Adam control you? from speaking. Like if I put a microphone in the middle of the road and I connect the microphone to the internet and I say, hey, bro, you want to talk about some crimes you did? And you go in front of the microphone and talk about the crimes, who should we blame? You. We got to blame you, right? Because what the hell are you doing talking about crimes that you're committing on the internet? All right. You shouldn't even be in the vicinity of a place where people are willing to allow you to get on the internet and say stupid stuff to incriminate yourself. All right. Now, I mean, OK, I could see some of the blame that people would put on Adam and say, hey, why are you asking these questions? But a lot of this stuff, they just say willy-nilly. OK. Now, regarding No Jumper. All right. It says here. OK. 2. Williams continues to commit and discuss robberies and other violent acts. All right. That's why Luce Cannon, that's Williams, all right, is part of this RICO. Because remember, it has to be crimes that are being continued over a period of time. All right. And let's just jump to the meat and potatoes. 102, it says, for example, on January 3rd, 2025, outside the No Jumper podcast filming location in Los Angeles, Luce Cannon struck a victim in the head multiple times with a firearm and pointed the firearm at the back of his head, while 2 other suspects removed valuables from the victim, including jewelry, cash, and a cell phone in excess value of $5,000. Hello, how do you know that the value is in excess of $5,000 unless you spoke with the victim? All right, so this Jay Diggs guy, I believe that's who they're referring to, all right, obviously spoke with investigators. All right, well, let me not just say obviously, let me say allegedly, okay? From the best that I can grasp from what I'm reading, okay? And corroborating it with video footage that we've all seen online. All right, the victim lost consciousness during the incident, which was, oh my God, this guy's an actor too. During the incident, which was captured on video and posted to social media, apparently to stoke fear and boast of Williams' penchant for violence. After the incident, Williams posted a 7-minute video on his YouTube channel discussing the beating, stating that he used to be Big Useless. This guy is such a troll, Big Useless enforcer that he loves to fight, and that the incident could have went a lot worse. Williams' post also played a portion of the assault. All right, and yeah, so it goes on. If you want to read the full document, I'll post a link to it. All right, but yeah, man, that's the breakdown of this Big U indictment. All right, obviously a class act. It's been several years they've been following these people. And, it makes it such an easy lick. I mean, honestly, look, guys, if you make $5 million, there is no reason you should be in the United States. All right. You should be somewhere in the Philippines. All right. You should be somewhere. You should be especially if you have a U.S. passport, you should be in a country where they respect and love Americans. All right. And the value of your U.S. dollar is worth far more than what it is traditionally in that country, okay? Look, there are countries you can survive on $400 a month like a king, all right? Why would you want to live like a peasant in the United States when you can live like a king for $400 a month, all right? Let alone having millions of dollars. So it's absolutely ridiculous that these guys made this much money. They were able to commit this many crimes, and they were able to perpetuate these crimes to the point that they were being investigated by the FBI. Oh, it's just so utterly stupid. But yeah, man, hopefully y'all learned a lot from this video. And, as more information breaks, I'll come back with more information. But yeah, man, good luck to all of these individuals. Like I said, I believe if they hire a very competent lawyer that scours everything thoroughly, that really cares, all right? Because once again, lawyers target these idiots too, right? If I'm a lawyer and I know that all these rappers have millions of dollars and they're just committing crimes and I can beat them over the head and just charge them whatever I want, look at Diddy. Then that's what I'm going to do as a lawyer, because I'm going to make my bread off of you being an idiot, right? So, but then again, also, there are, if you look over the case, there are a lot of little things here and there that I believe a good lawyer will be able to use, to discredit the competency of the case. All right. They also say allegedly Lil Durk is tied into this somehow. All right. So it's a lot of nonsense, but yeah, let me know what y'all think. Yeah, man, Big U and the RICO.